Guys, today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people don't really talk about. We're going to talk about depersonalization and derealization. So these are basically disorders. So depersonalization refers to an altered perception of oneself, such as being detached from all your emotions. What makes this disorder so strange, and the reason nobody really talks about it, is because a lot of people think that they're the only ones who experience this. But there's a lot of people who experience this. But what makes this really strange is that you don't really feel any emotion when you feel this. You don't feel depression, you don't feel anxiety, you don't feel happiness, you feel nothing. You are numb and detached from your emotions. And derealization refers to an alteration of the environment as it is perceived. So derealization is described as the experience of the external world as strange or unreal. One's vision may be distorted so that objects appear larger or smaller than they really are. A familiar scene may seem foreign or somehow perverted, or objects in the environment may seem like they are somehow not the same as they are known to be, as though they are not the right size, shape, or alien in some other way. Like for part 2, Depersonalization and Derealization part 2, go check out part 1 for more context. In part 1, we talked about the definition of depersonalization and derealization. So depersonalization refers to an altered perception of oneself, such as a detachment from all emotion, including anxiety, depression, happiness. You feel nothing. It's a very strange feeling, and it's hard to describe unless you experience this yourself. And derealization is described as an experience of the external world that's feeling strange or unreal or somehow perverted. Here's a very good example of what it feels like. You feel like you are living in a dream behind a glass wall or a bubble. The world around you seems off. It feels like the uncanny valley. When you feel this, you are detached from your thoughts, bodies, and feelings, such as not being able to feel happiness, sadness, depression, anxiety, no feelings whatsoever. And your perception of time is completely distorted. For some people, time feels extra slow. For others, like myself, the distortion of time feels extra fast. A lot faster than it usually feels. For example, New Year's was almost half a year ago, but feels like it was last week. Alright, I'm out of time. Check out part 3 for more. Depersonalization and Derealization part 3. Go check out part 1 and 2 for the full context. Now in part 1 and 2, I basically described what depersonalization and derealization is. To simplify these feelings even more, it feels like you're in a movie or you're lucid dreaming. Here's a good example of what it feels like when you experience this. Derealization basically feels like a lucid dream that you are trying to wake up from, but it keeps going on. Now there are a few things that can cause these feelings. Number 1 is smoking weed. Number 2 is severe insomnia, and this is what caused these feelings for me. If my insomnia gets really bad for a full week, I will experience this on a high level. Now for some people, insomnia is caused by having a lot of anxiety or depression. For me, that wasn't the case. My insomnia is caused by having a busy mind and being very sensitive to light and sound. And what I mean by having a busy mind is thinking about all kinds of things, and some of them being super random. Like I'll be in bed trying to fall asleep and my brain will randomly start thinking about what does heaven look like, what does hell look like, where's the Garden of Eden. I'll be thinking about the past, the present, all kinds of ideas. Sometimes I have trouble going to sleep when the moon's too bright or birds too loud. Check out part 4 and Derealization part 4. Go check out part 1, 2, and 3 for the full context. Now in part 1 through 3, I talked about the definitions of depersonalization and derealization, and I talked about what it feels like. I also talked about what can cause this, such as smoking weed and severe insomnia. Now I'm going to talk about ways you can fix it. For starters, if you smoke weed and you feel this, stop smoking weed. And for those who experience severe insomnia, I'm going to show you a few things you can do to help with that. Number 1, if you use electronics throughout the day and during the day, get yourself a pair of blue light blocking glasses. These cost $16, not very expensive. Number 2, if you start to feel these feelings, do something spontaneous right away.
Being spontaneous! Somebody help me! I'm being spontaneous!
If you begin to start to feel these feelings, stop what you're doing right away and go do something spontaneous. Go take a cold shower, or go on a nice walk outside, or take yourself on a hike somewhere. Cold showers help a lot because it forces you to slow down and breathe properly and just focus on breathing and nothing else. Let me know if you guys experience this.